Hello everyone, welcome to Historical Explorations in Focus.
A history of brutality, dictators and their demise. Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the dark heart of the 20th century, exploring the lives and deaths of some of history's most brutal dictators. We're talking about figures whose names have become synonymous with oppression, violence, and unimaginable cruelty. This is heavy stuff, so viewer discretion is advised. So, buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey through some of the darkest chapters of human history. Adolf Hitler, the rise and fall of the Third Reich. This is a story of ambition, power, and ultimate destruction. Our grim exploration begins in the beer halls of 1920s Munich, where the seeds of a dark future were being sown. Here, a disgruntled veteran named Adolf Hitler was honing his hateful rhetoric, captivating audiences with his fervent speeches. Germany, reeling from defeat in World War I and economic turmoil, proved fertile ground for Hitler's Nazi party. The nation's desperation and disillusionment made it susceptible to radical ideologies. By 1933, Hitler had ascended to the chancellorship, quickly consolidating his power and transforming Germany into a totalitarian state. His regime silenced opposition and controlled every aspect of life. The Holocaust, a systematic campaign of genocide, resulted in the deaths of 6 million Jews. This atrocity remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. In 1939, his invasion of Poland ignited World War II, a conflict that would consume the globe and lead to unprecedented destruction and loss of life. On April 30, 1945, with defeat imminent, Hitler committed suicide alongside his wife, Eva Braun. His death marked the end of the Third Reich, but the scars of his reign remain. Joseph Stalin, the Iron Fist of the Soviet Union. From the ashes of World War II arose another tyrant, Joseph Stalin. Stalin's rise to power was marked by ruthless ambition and a willingness to eliminate any perceived enemies. Millions were sent to gulags, vast forced labor camps scattered across the Soviet expanse. He enforced collectivization of agriculture, leading to widespread famine and the deaths of millions more. Despite his brutality, Stalin emerged from World War II as a victor. Stalin's reign of terror finally ended in 1953, not with a bang, but with a whimper. He suffered a stroke, leaving him partially paralyzed and unable to speak. Benito Mussolini, the fall of Il Duce. Across the Alps from Hitler and Stalin, another dictator was consolidating his power, Benito Mussolini. He sought to revive the glory of the Roman Empire and establish Italy as a dominant force in Europe. Mussolini, a former journalist, rose to prominence in the aftermath of World War I. The war had left Italy in economic turmoil, and Mussolini capitalized on the public's discontent. In 1922, Mussolini's blackshirts marched on Rome, forcing the king to appoint him prime minister. This bold move marked the beginning of his authoritarian rule. Mussolini quickly consolidated his power, dismantling democratic institutions and establishing a one-party state. He used propaganda and violence to suppress opposition and control the populace. He aligned himself with Hitler, joining the Axis powers in World War II. This alliance would prove disastrous for Italy as the war progressed. As Allied forces advanced through Italy in 1943, Mussolini was overthrown and arrested. His regime crumbled under the pressure of the advancing Allies and internal resistance. In April 1945, Mussolini attempted to flee to Switzerland but was captured by Italian partisans and executed. His desperate escape plan failed, sealing his fate. Their bodies were strung up in a Milan piazza, marking the end of Mussolini's reign. This public display was a stark reminder of the brutal end that awaited those who led with tyranny and oppression. Chapter 4: Pol Pot, the Nightmare of the Khmer Rouge. From the killing fields of Cambodia, a new horror emerged, the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge seized control of Cambodia, plunging the country into a nightmare. Pol Pot's vision sought to create an agrarian utopia by eliminating all vestiges of modernity. Under Pol Pot's reign, an estimated 2 million Cambodians perished. The Khmer Rouge's reign of terror ended in 1979 when Vietnam invaded Cambodia. Pol Pot evaded justice for decades, living under house arrest until his death in 1998. His legacy remains a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ideology. Chapter 5: Saddam Hussein, the ruthless dictator of Iraq. In the oil-rich deserts of Iraq, another dictator rose to prominence, Saddam Hussein. Hussein seized power in 1979, embarking on a brutal reign that would last for over 2 decades. He ruthlessly suppressed any opposition, targeting Kurds, Shia Muslims, and anyone deemed a threat. In 1980 he launched a bloody 8-year war against Iran. In 1990 he invaded Kuwait, triggering the First Gulf War. In 2003, the US-led invasion of Iraq led to Hussein's capture and eventual execution in 2006. His death marked the end of his brutal reign and a pivotal moment in Iraq's history. Chapter 6. Muammar Gaddafi, the eccentric despot of Libya. Muammar Gaddafi ruled Libya with an iron fist for over 4 decades. Gaddafi seized power in a bloodless coup in 1969, espousing a unique blend of socialism, Arab nationalism, and Islamic principles. Gaddafi's rule was marked by contradictions. He oversaw significant improvements in Libya's living standards, but also crushed dissent and funded terrorist groups. In 2011, inspired by the Arab Spring, Libyans rose up against Gaddafi's rule. Gaddafi's regime crumbled, and he was forced to flee the capital, Tripoli. He was captured by rebel forces hiding in a drainage pipe near his hometown of Sirte. Gaddafi was killed shortly afterward, marking the end of his 42-year rule. Chapter 7. Kim Jong-il, the Enigma of North Korea. Shrouded in secrecy, North Korea has long been an enigma to the outside world. At the heart of this reclusive nation was Kim Jong-il, the dear leader who inherited power from his father, Kim Il-sung. Under Kim Jong-il's rule, North Korea remained an isolated pariah state, its people subjected to widespread human rights abuses. Despite international condemnation, Kim Jong-il continued to develop North Korea's nuclear weapons program. In 2011, Kim Jong-il died of a heart attack, succeeded by his youngest son, Kim Jong-un. His death marked the end of an era in North Korea but did little to alter the course of this isolated nation. Chapter 8. Idi Amin, the Butcher of Uganda. In the heart of Africa, Idi Amin ruled Uganda with a brutality that shocked the world. Amin seized power in a coup in 1971, unleashing a reign of terror that would last for 8 years. Amin's regime was characterized by extreme violence, ethnic cleansing, and economic mismanagement. He created a brutal security apparatus responsible for the torture, disappearance, and execution of an estimated 300,000 to 500,000 Ugandans. In 1979, Amin's reign of terror ended when Tanzanian forces, alongside Ugandan exiles, invaded Uganda. Amin fled to Libya, eventually settling in Saudi Arabia, where he lived out his days. He died in 2003, his death barely registering on the world stage. Chapter 9. Nicolae Ceausescu, the Fall of the Romanian Dictator. Nicolae Ceausescu ruled Romania with an iron fist for over 2 decades, from 1965 until his dramatic downfall in 1989. Ceausescu's regime was characterized by megalomania, paranoia, and a cult of personality. He controlled every aspect of Romanian life, from the economy to the media. In December 1989, inspired by the fall of the Berlin Wall and the wave of revolutions sweeping Eastern Europe, Romanians took to the streets, demanding an end to Ceausescu's oppressive rule. The protests were met with brutal force, with the regime attempting to crush the dissent. However, the tide had turned, and the people's resolve only grew stronger. The army, once loyal to Ceausescu, defected to the side of the protesters. Ceausescu and his wife Elena were forced to flee the capital in a desperate attempt to escape the uprising. They were captured, tried in a swift and dramatic trial, and executed by firing squad on Christmas Day 1989, marking a grim end to their reign. Ceausescu's death marked the end of communism in Romania, a significant turning point in the nation's history. The legacy of his brutal regime continues to cast a long shadow over Romanian society, with many still grappling with the impacts of his authoritarian rule. Chapter 10. Francisco Franco, the Legacy of Spain's Caudillo. Francisco Franco, known as El Caudillo, ruled Spain for nearly 4 decades. Franco rose to power during the Spanish Civil War, leading the nationalist faction to victory. Franco's victory ushered in an era of authoritarian rule that would last until his death in 1975. He established a one-party state, banned political opposition, and ruthlessly suppressed dissent. Franco's death in 1975 marked the beginning of Spain's transition to democracy. King Juan Carlos I oversaw the dismantling of the Francoist state and the establishment of a constitutional monarchy. Franco's legacy remains a subject of debate in Spain today. Outrow lessons from history's tyrants. So, there you have it, a glimpse into the lives and deaths of 10 of history's most brutal dictators. Their stories are a stark reminder of the human capacity for both good and evil, and the devastating consequences of unchecked power. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical deep dives.